What is up, RC enthusiasts? Check it out. We have the RC4 Drive Trailfinder 2 right here, the 24th scale. This thing right here is pretty cool. You know me, I like my Toyotas, so I had to get one of these when I saw it on sale. I know I wasn't interested in it at first because it was too small. I'm usually into the 16 scale crawlers, and the 18 scale ones are pretty good now too, so I'm liking those. But usually I wouldn't spend as much as they're asking for something like this when it was original price. But at my local hobby store, this thing was on sale. I mean, there's sales that are cheaper than it still, but at my local hobby store, might as well support it. It was $99. So I said, you know what, $100. I'll have an RC 4-wheel drive 24 scale to talk about. And I know it's old and it's been around for a while, but you know, it's new to me, so here we go. Let's go ahead and check out what I think of this tiny WPL. First, let's talk about the transmitter. Doesn't this thing look like retro or old school or something? It's this RC 4-wheel drive at the top right here. It's a plastic steering wheel. It is full proportional, throttle and steering. And right here you see you have your endpoint adjustment right there, the ATV, and the steering trim, steering reversing, throttle trim, throttle reversing, and a bind button, and on and off. So pretty simple. 4 AA's in here, and you have to screw it in there too. I don't like that part, but I guess it is what it is. And that's about it for the transmitter. Other than that, it works pretty well. It is pretty big. As you can tell, it's pretty much the size of the truck itself. So this tiny truck right here, it's pretty quality tiny little thing. The only thing I don't like is the Velcro mounting, because as you can tell, oh, it left the mounting on that side of it. So, yep, they do include spares in there, but I might find a different solution for it. I know some people use magnets or something. That's probably what I'm going to do if I can. But for now, I'm going to keep it like this and run it this way. One other gripe I have are those mirrors. Those mirrors are made of really like hard plastic, so I've tipped it over once already and they kind of folded in on themselves, and I try to bend it back out, but you can tell that's about to snap pretty soon. Other than that, the quality of the plastic is pretty nice on the body itself and on the front grille and headlights. And those are light buckets. The rear, you're gonna have to figure out some way to put lights back there, but you definitely can because it has tabs right there. The light can shine through that. Well, there you go, simple, you know, full interior in there, which is pretty cool. Full window and everything. And now the chassis, it's really nice. RC 4-wheel drive logo on the back right there. It's like a CNC aluminum chassis, very rigid. I mean, you can't twist this unless you plan to break it, but you can't twist this thing, and I don't see any twist happening on the trail whatsoever with this chassis. Tiny little micro N30 motor. Oh, upside down. Micro N30 motor right there. So this is a newer model. I guess when they first came out they had a smaller motor in here, and this is the full updated version, I guess. And it has a black servo horn up front. Other ones I've seen, they have like the white servo horn, so this one kind of blends in better. That's the servo. The micro twister servo 5G. 5-gram servo. There's what it looks like underneath. I don't know if you noticed down here, but if you look at the inside, there's like an O-ring that holds the pin in place for the drive shaft. Mine was missing on the back, so I just used a heat shrink to put it on there. As you can tell, the front one is not missing. I just decided to put shrink tubing on it as well, just to keep it from getting lost or breaking off, so the pin doesn't go flying off and now we can't use the truck properly. You can see right here, non-oil filled shock. These are just friction shocks. But this sprung pretty well for the truck. You do have some sag when you put the body on and stuff, so it's sprung pretty well. It's not like those really stiff suspension where it doesn't matter if you have a load on there, it's not even compressing at all. So it has some good sag. The battery is a 320 milliamp hour 2S. They seem to look like, or they feel like cells, kind of like 18650, but tinier cells. So these are like lithium ion batteries in my opinion, not lipos. Still a pretty good runtime with this. I haven't charged it yet, I just plugged it in and been driving it and it hasn't died yet. So this one right here, some of the hardware is screw hardware and some are hex hardware. So you're going to need both of those to disassemble this truck right here. I'm going to go ahead and get these axles open, or one of the axles open, to see if it's metal in there. And then we'll tear open the gearbox and see what it looks like in there as well. And I'm not sure if you can tell right here. Look at my ESC receiver combo. The case has a crack in it. So it's just a cracked case. There's no issues with the ESC itself. It's working as it should. But I just wanted to point that out anyway. That yeah, it did come with a cracked case like that. And the front diff is not smooth either. It's a lot of binding in there. I noticed because I disconnected the drive shafts already just to spin these outputs to see how it feels like. The rear feels good. The transmission feels good. But the front definitely has binding going on in there. So there's something wrong with the gears in here probably. Maybe they're not meshing well, or there's like machining, flanging, or whatever from the casting or whatever they use in there. But we'll go ahead and break this open right now and see what's in there. You hear that like wah wah wah. That's binding from the front axle right there, so I'm having a binding issue with that. Now what some people will do is they're gonna disassemble that, put like a drill at the end of this and kind of run it in, or you can just do it like me and just deal with it for now, and then it'll eventually run in and get smoother. But there are metal gears in there. They look like hardened steel, so it shouldn't be wearing down enough to damage the gears, but it should just wear in enough to where it'll run smoother. But this one right here, there's no other way to build the axles, so pretty much you tighten it down. And remember, this truck has plastic, metal on plastic, you know, for the screws, so you don't want to torque them down. You just snug them all down, and that should be enough. As you can tell, still needs to get rid of that notchiness, but if you just keep on running it, it'll go away. Oh, why are you hitting my bigger trucks, man? Trying to climb them? Oh. See if I can climb that tire. Oh. See, as you can tell right there, that mirror bent in again. And I'm pretty sure if I bend that back out one more time, it's probably gonna snap. So that's a bad design right there. They should have made that out of some soft rubber. It would have been better. Like WPL ones actually are made out of plastic too, but they're a lot more malleable, so they can take a couple bends and bend right back. This one seems like it's gonna break off really easily. So I'm gonna be using a Phillips 0.0 right here. And for the hex hardware, I'm gonna be using the hex 0.05. I'm gonna remove the upper and lower links and suspension from the chassis to remove the rear. You're gonna have to remove the steering link attached to the servo and the two suspension as well. You should be able to pull off the axles and the suspension assembly completely apart from the chassis. There we go, we have the front axle, rear axle, fully disassembled with the links and suspension attached to it. So any servicing you need to do from here to these, not too hard. You just have to remove those 4 screws right there in the back. Remove these 2 screws right here on the corners. You can see right there in the corners on the axles, and that should let you slide both ends off right here, and you should be able to split this case. And this is how the chassis looks like without it. So pretty simple. And right here you just have 4 screws, 2 on each side, and that will unmount this motor from here, and then we'll get into that gearbox as well. And of course, don't forget to unplug your motor from the ESC receiver combo. So I had to fully remove these links from here so that I can get to these 2 screws right here, because this link blocks this screw right here. After removing those 2 screws right there, you can slide this assembly off. I already did it to the other side. And I just keep this whole assembly assembled like this. Yeah, unless you're going to need to work on this right here, so you would need to remove this wheel nut right here to get this part of the CVD out if you need to replace parts from here. See right here, I just have the 4 screws left to remove, and I should be able to show you guys what's in here. And I'm not sure if you guys noticed in here, but this thing is full ball bearings. Well, there you go, I split it open. Full ball bearings in here as well, and full metal ring and pinion gears as well. So that's pretty good to know that everything's metal internally in the drivetrain, except for the drive shafts, obviously, but hey, those things should last. That's the front diff right there. The rear diff is probably going to be exactly the same, so I don't need to show you guys that. Full metal ring and pinion in there. Next, let's take apart this gearbox to see what's inside. So on the gearbox, it looks like I have 1 screw back here and 3 screws up here, and I have to remove this shaft right here so I can pull the case apart. Oh man, I had to use a body clip to push that pin out. That's how tiny that pin is. It's like the size of a body clip. So that's a little tip right there, pushing that pin out so you can get that drive shaft end off. Oh wow, to my surprise, check it out. Full ball bearings and metal geared transmission. That is awesome. So this should be a pretty reliable little rig right here. So as you can tell right here when I open it up, yeah, more reduction gears. So that's pretty cool. Well, there you guys go. Little RC four-wheel drive back together. Pretty simple little truck to work on. You can see those numbers on the chassis right there. 125, 120, 115. It's chassis length right there. So you could adjust the links so you could shorten or lengthen the chassis so you can have the wheelbase longer or shorter. So it's adjustable right there. And the plastic little mount down there has 2 adjustments on it as well for the lower links. So that way you could adjust all your links, front or rear, and that way you have an adjustable truck right here. You want to change that body to something else? There you go, you have an option. You can go find yourself a body somewhere at some hobby place or a little model kit and figure out a way to place it on top of this, and you'll have yourself a scale looking rig of whatever type of vehicle you want. And also, one thing I forgot to mention about this, guys, those bolts right there are real bolts. You're probably gonna have to go to RC four-wheel drive to buy the tool to take those off, but those are beadlock wheels. And I made a mistake on checking if they're real beadlocks or not, and I kind of pulled one of the wheels apart. You can actually kind of tell still it's this wheel right here. It's not fully seated right there, right where it says Baja Claw underneath that. So yeah, I need that tool apparently to get that wheel back in there properly. So there we go, the little RC four-wheel drive Trailfinder 2 right here, little 1/24 scale. Pretty sweet for what you get. I mean, yes, it is pricey, but you know, there are a lot of metal parts in there to make it worth it, especially if you're into this model and you do like this Toyota model, which is not, you know, it's not a licensed model, but we all know what this is. Well, anyways, if you do like licensed models, check those 2 out in the back right there. Pretty sweet rigs. Alright guys, thanks for watching as usual. We're going to run this guy on my trail run as usual, a little hill climb, and all these guys are going to get that treatment. So we're going to see how they perform on that. Till then, you guys take care out there, stay safe, and as always, go have fun and run that RC.